The question is, what have you learned about history and civil rights that is important to teach your children? And so I'm going to answer this one first, and then I'll ask Letechia. For me, I am learning that I don't know anything, that my education was slanted, and the more independent like study I do and books I read and groups I join, the more my mind is just troubled by the things that I wasn't taught. And that if we were taught those things, that maybe some of these repeated mistakes could be fixed. And Lindsay offered, I've learned that what I was taught in school is either not true or not the full truth. Lindsay, exactly what I was saying. Yes. And that much of what they're learning today is the same. Yes. Parents all over, we have such a huge responsibility to do our self-study and to teach our kids to be critical thinkers and to ask more questions. And if you can't get the answers out of your teachers, to ask your parents, ask other people, ask people that are smart, ask people that are wise. Lori is offering, I've learned that even though things have maybe in the past, they're still important to everybody today. It's important to learn history, true history, in order to address the problems of today. Thank you, Lori. All right, and Dana, why don't we have Letechia share, and then we'll ask Dana to get on. Go ahead, Letechia.
I too, like you said, Robyn, to me, I feel like I don't know enough as well. And the reason I feel like I don't know enough about this is because, just like the other participants said, we didn't have these kind of conversations really around the table or at home. It was more about the day-to-day, like those day-to-day functions. So we didn't really have a lot of these conversations. So we never really transpired a lot of these conversations amongst our children. Again, it's really been more about, history is important. Knowing your history, knowing your roots, learning as much as you can, especially when you're exposed to different topics or different circumstances, learn about it. So this way you're educated on it and you have as much knowledge about that topic before you approach it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Because I feel like as individuals, we are our best advocates. We are our most favorable advocates. And no one is going to be able to advocate for us better than our own selves. But the only way to do that is to learn as to be open to those differences, even though they may not be what you're used to. Even though, again, like you said, the history books are so old, they're repeating so much. But I do appreciate that there are actions that is being taken towards, adding to and being inclusive to what's happening right now. We have many of our children, especially that was born within the last 12, 14 years, that has a very different outlook than many of us that was born before, right? Like we were, even what it looks like politically, who can be in a part of those political offices and what offices they could stand, is different conversations. And it's reminded me of a conversation with my, soon to be 13-year-old, when he says, Mom, one of my friends said that African Americans or minorities could never be in the presidency role. Well, the only president my first president was Barack Obama. So for him, like, that is very different. That understanding or knowledge of where that came from his friend to say that is a different experience for him, because he's looking like, what do you mean? Because I see this diversity versus, that exposure. So, I think that things like that, to teach our children, talk to our children about, the transition and, the intent behind it and how things are changing now, really does have a strong impact, because those views are different. And to see them included in the history and it's being taught, I think will be really amazing and will bring us not totally, but a little bit closer to the truth. You know, thank you. So please.
Thanks, Letechia. All right, so we're going to have Dana and Adrian and Tiffany and Vera again speak, and then we'll get to some comments. So while they're speaking, if you've got chats or something to offer, please go ahead and type it. Go ahead, Dana.
So can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I've never actually spoken on a webinar before.
Well, welcome.
Hello. So I am, if you can't tell by my accent, I'm from north of Boston. I currently live in New Hampshire. And about 25, well, probably 35 years ago, I got involved with a particular religious organization that was really pushing for the Martin Luther King holiday. And all I knew about, I mean, I was alive when the doctor was killed, and I can remember the immediate responses that I heard at the time were pretty racist, actually. And racist as far as, well, he sort of deserved it, he was doing the wrong things and all of that. So, you know, fast forward to my adulthood, and I'm working with young people who are in a diverse environment, and getting to know their parents who were my age. And I was so shocked by all of the stories I heard from my friends who grew up in Mississippi were so much different than mine in Massachusetts. And I couldn't understand it. And I am looking for ways to make sure that people don't forget. In New Hampshire, we're having some political issues around the critical race theories and all of that gobbledygook that just means that people aren't going to be able to speak about their truth. So I'm very concerned because now I have grandchildren, and I feel like sometimes I just blurt things out at them because as I've retired, I've become more of an activist, which is how I got involved with Be Strong Families as well, because it's the kids who need to remember that these are real events that happened to real people we know, people we go to church with or we go to school with. And if it wasn't them, then it was their parents and grandparents that were affected too. So I guess I just wanted to say that I'm very concerned. I was so excited when I saw this topic because I don't think we speak about it enough. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, Dana, I agree that we don't speak about it enough. And I think that for me, I have learned in the last 2 years to start really leaning deeply into things that make me feel uncomfortable. These conversations aren't always comfortable for me either, but I've learned so much by trying really hard to put my discomfort aside. It's not always possible, but sometimes I have to just do it uncomfortable.
Right.
And it's just been really great. Thanks for offering all of that.
It's
Adrian?
liberating.
Yes, it is. That's a great word for it. Thanks, Dana. Adrian, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being patient with Andrew while he kind of does his thing. So I have great concerns about a certain amount of removal of information in our younger people, our younger adults. There's a lot of targeted removal of information as well as targeted addition of information. So I think we all have to ask ourselves when we're looking at history, why? You know, it's really important. I look at pictures of Dr. King walking, and behind Dr. King or beside Dr. King are always rabbis from the Jewish faith. And I have to ask myself, why is there so much distrust between the Black community and the Jewish community right now? And I really truly believe that that is something new that's being instilled between the communities, because growing up in the 60s and the 70s and even into the early 80s, the Jewish community always stood behind the Black community and uplifted them, and they understood privilege, and what their position was to stand behind Dr. King and uplift him up that ladder. And so I'm really upset and concerned when I see so much distrust and hate, because I feel that perhaps it's not real. Perhaps it's injected into the two communities by a third party, or by those communities, maybe some jealous people within the communities. Something is going wrong. Okay. Something has gone haywire. And because, just a couple days ago was Holocaust Remembrance Day, I just want to say that it's really scary that in just a few more years, there will be no more survivors. None. No firsthand knowledge of what happened in a horrific situation for not only Jewish people, but LGBTQIA plus people and Roma, which was formerly, given other names, the community. And the combined number of people who died was 12 million. And, yet we see continued ongoing holocausts and really big wars. We have a quiet, silent, perhaps a war happening between Russia and the Ukraine right now. And the question we really have to ask ourselves is why? Why are we fighting with arms? Why are we not putting our arms down? Who's benefiting from this? Why? And I think if we really get down to the bottom message between people, it's pretty obvious that it's really not a color or a culture issue. It's a profit issue. And so we must continue to look at the big picture and teach our young people how to ask these difficult questions and figure it out for themselves, so that we can come together. The people now are the first group of people that I've ever seen who just spontaneously together go, wait, no, put your arms down. We're going to have peace. And this is a really positive thing. And we, as social justice people, need to come together in all of our different groupings and look at the greater good.
Thank you, Adrienne. Beautifully said. And we're going to have Tiffany on now. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is the first time I've ever joined Be Strong. I'm feeling a little bit emotional right now because I just watched the Emmett Till story. And so I guess I'm still kind of touched on that subject a little bit.
Yeah.
But when you're asking about our own experiences, I am a white woman. And really, I was extremely ignorant when it came to race relations and, what that meant. I'm a child of the 90s. And so, I'm from a very conservative family. We call them racist, unfortunately. I wish that wasn't so. Boy, have I tried to change their opinions, but unsuccessfully. I have a minority child, a child that is mixed, and I am so glad that I know now what I didn't know when my son was born, because now I raise my son a little bit differently. I have to. I don't have a choice in the way that I have to instruct him, especially living where we live. It's very hard to speak your mind and say how you feel about social justice, because there are so many opposed in the area where I'm at. So, when George Floyd happened, when Emmett Arbery happened, when Breonna Taylor happened, not only had I already done civil rights research, I've been to the Lorraine Motel. I highly recommend if anybody is ever in Memphis, that is one of the best places to, you need more than one day. It's one of the best places to go to really learn a lot about the Black culture and the civil rights struggle. And but I've since learned a lot about Indigenous people. I've been to Selma, I've been to Montgomery. Basically, the point I'm making is I did my own research. And I also immersed myself in the Black community and began to learn the culture of the Black community. So not just am I reading about it, not just am I learning through books, but I'm also learning through life experiences, the way that we laugh differently, but we're the same, the way that we may raise our children a little differently, but we're the same. The similarities versus just, the differences. And I'm so glad because I have hope, because watching the Emmett Till story last night and all that woman had to go through, Mammy, I believe is her name, forgive me, that she had to go through, and what it meant to just have somebody, come into your home and to be able to take you like that. I can defend my child today. I don't have to worry about some of the things that she had to worry about. I'm filled with so much hope for the progress. The NAACP, I learned more about them just from watching that show and what power that they have. And I also wanted to give Adrian a little bit of hope. I was when the Emmett Aubrey trial, when the verdict was about to be rendered, I was a part of a community call in which it was the Black community, the Jewish community, the religious community, all coming together and praying for the outcome of that trial. So there is still some unity, at least that's what I saw, was some unity, where we're all coming together and praying for the common cause. So yeah, just my own research, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that, because I know what to tell my son now and how to properly help him be able to live in this world.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you so much for adding your voice. Rhonda offers in the chat, in the Black and Brown community, we have a few families that are teaching their children about history and Black history, but I've witnessed peers consider one that is rich in their culture and can be viewed differently. Thank you, Rhonda. Lindsay's offering, my generation was told / taught to be colorblind and absolutely not talk about any of this. It makes my own parents so uncomfortable to hear myself and my partner talk about to our children so openly about social issues and what our role is in things right now. Thank you, Lindsay. I really resonate with that. And Monica's offering, history gives me hope and also to encourage me to keep the fight, to work harder for the people. Thank you, Monica. And Black is saying, when I talk to my children about history, I look through the history books as well as speak with my mother, who will be 97 years old this week. Wow, what rich information you'll get there. We get a lot of information from her that the books don't tell us about. I tell my children the history lesson that they're receiving from her is also the legacy she wants to leave them. Every February, my children must do a Black history assignment. Thank you. James is saying that we, African Americans, should be proud of our history, not ashamed or just plain angry. Rather, we should be proud that through all the hardships, we're still here and still strong. With that strength, we move towards activism of diversity, equality, and inclusion. Thank you, James. Hear, hear. All right, let's see. There looks like a couple more people. Monica, I'm gonna ask Andrew to unmute Monica, and then we can, after Monica, we'll move to the next question.
Hello.
Hi, Monica.
Well, this is a little emotional. I thought I have forgotten about my, when my struggles here, but listening is just making me remember everything here. I've been here for the last 33 years, and only like 5 years ago, I became legal in this country. So, but the past years, the beginning, it was so hard. And I was just listening, what I see from now, I look at I look when I got here, and my dreams were not achieved. My education couldn't be there was a lot of things that I heard. I remember going to school, and I told the teacher, my counselor, I want to become a doctor. And she laughed. She laughed and she said, Monica, how do you want to become a doctor when you don't even have a driver's license to drive? And believe me, that I was very sad. I just couldn't believe. And I went home, not going back. Not She was right. She was right. And that was one thing. And a lot of things, our children being here with parents who have no opportunity because we are just, as they said, not shouldn't be here. But one of the things is listening to Martin Luther King. He was one of my greatest motivator, because at that time I used to feel hate. Because I say, how can this be? Well, thanks God, I had a priest, and I went to the priest, and he always told me, Monica, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. And he helped me to channel that. And he told me, Monica, just channel that anger into positive, into good positive channels that will help you grow. And that's what I did. I always this is what I said that day. I said, okay, people are not going to give me the opportunity here because they might be right. To me, they were not right, because I only knew I wanted, succeed. That was my only hope. But I said, well, fine, they're probably right. So, but what I did, it was took every opportunity, every like people like you, like even those events, I took opportunity of them, and thanks God, I learned. I did went to college. I took my 2-year. I got my 2 years associate in science, which is good, And there I also learned from one of the teachers, my social teacher, and she also said one thing. She said, a lot of people, they think they're right, but they don't. A lot of people say they act thinking that's the right thing, but she said there is information missing, and they don't know. They think they're right, but they're not. And looking at those things, I do, and knowing people, because I was in my Mexican community, but then I got out and get to know more people, and I realized that there is a lot of people that act sometimes wrong, but we don't know. So what helped me was, opening up to get to know everybody. And then, I understand more people. And now with my granddaughter, which is Mexican and Afro-American, I also give thanks to God, because with that, I got to know more the other community. And then I realized, wow, we are all, because the people that I know with, African American, I got to know them more. And I knew, wow, they have their story. We have our story. It's so interesting how we all have something. And what I did understand is, to me, the solution to me is, if we get to know each other more, talk to each other more, and instead of getting what the media show us, what the people with hate tell us, instead of us opening up to everyone, to people, to their story, I think that is, to me, that has helped me make my own judgment and understand that there is good people everywhere, and that we just need to express our feelings and get to know each other, and then we'll know that the world has hope. To me, there is hope. We just need to open up our hearts and, and get it out. And that's, to me, that's something. And I do appreciate you the opportunity to let me talk. And I thought I had it healed, but no, I just hear this, and my God, I just became like, oh God, I still sad. But thank you for the opportunity for this moment. So thank you, Robyn and Alicia and Letechia.
You are very welcome, Monica. And we are so honored that you shared your voice with us. And in my opinion, you're absolutely right. A lot of healing can happen in groups like these, where we're sharing of each other, sharing of ourselves, and we're learning about people instead of what we see on the news. Rosa, I
And
think,
just before you say that,
Oh.
Robyn, I just want to also say to, just thank Monica and all who have shared for sharing your strength.
right.
That is really powerful within itself, just going through what they're experiencing, what you have experienced, and to come and be a part of a platform where you would share openly, your vulnerability and the strength that you're continuing with is definitely a testament that we all can, do this, and we can do it, and we can get through it, and we can find strength in it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Letechia, while you were talking like that, I was just thinking back, and what Monica did was she strengthened our vicarious resilience. She told us a story of a hardship and how she overcame it. And her resilience adds to our resilience. And it just is, I don't know, it's just such an honor to be in this space today. Rosa said, thank you for sharing your experiences. Together we can. Yes, Rosa, I believe that too. Trisha is offering, I was fortunate to grow up. I scrolled too far. I was fortunate to grow up next to a community full of people of color who accepted me for being a, and she has in quotes, half-breed, which is what they once called people who were blended with Native Americans, and was accepted. And the side of our family used to be hidden back then. Thank you, Trisha, for sharing that. And Adrian said, I'm sad that you were called names because of your cultures. Your culture adds to who you are. Yes, it does. Jasmine is saying, thank you so much for sharing, Monica. And we have one more raised hand. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to stick with this question, and we'll let Rosa come on and speak. And we'll take our last question, and we will save it for a later conversation. Letechia and I will come back and do a part 2 to this, because this has been a really great experience, hopefully for all of you, but definitely for me. All right, Rosa, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm feeling very, very excited being here with you guys, girls. My first language is Spanish, but I can't wait for share my experience today. I am working for IU5 Intermediate Unit. I am a parent involvement support, and for me, it's a great experience. And everything that I hear today is beautiful. I'm from Dominican Republic, and I have more than 10 years fight for social justice. I am Dominican Haitian descent, and it's a big situation in my country. Black don't like other Black, it's crazy. But thank you for sharing this moment, and I feel so identified with everything you shared today. Also, I'm feeling so excited, and I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for sharing every story, and I believe we can do most that we do together. I think we can make bigger change in our life, in our community, and we can continue to fight together for social justice, inclusion, human rights, and little by little, we can make the change we need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosa. Thanks for coming on and being brave and sharing with us. And we appreciate you too.